What's going on there, Space Monkeys? I'm Robert Durden. Welcome to Political Fight Club. Welcome to a new year. We're going to continue with Dreamland here today. We're halfway through our chapter here. It's called More Cases Than Car Crashes. We're going to start on page 251. I'm going to backtrack about a paragraph just to get us back on track, and then we'll finish up the chapter here. Page 251. By 2008, Scioto County had 21 fatal drug overdoses and 23 drug-related deaths, giving it the second highest death rate in the state. Yet in Columbus, the legislature had other concerns. The Ohio boards governing the licensing of doctors and pharmacists, believing their hands tied by the state's intractable pain law, kept silent. Had the boards been the slightest bit creative, they could have put a stop to this. They could have put the pill mills out of business, Johnson said. I was trying to bend our prescribing habits down. What I was fighting was a multi-million-dollar ad campaign to liberalize prescribing. Then the epidemiologist showed I was right. But no one was looking at it till the State Department of Health realized our numbers exceeded fatal traffic accidents. And that's Terry Johnson, by the way. He was the guy who figured out all of this via the data and watched it for a few years, just to catch up. Not long after the report she wrote with Soci, Christy Beagley called Portsmouth City nurse Lisa Roberts for a meeting with women from all around the state to talk about the problem. Lisa called a friend and a public health colleague. This was finally a chance to talk about pills along the Ohio River. They drove to Columbus. It was quickly apparent, however, that the other women in the room would have no conception of what had hit Portsmouth. We're sitting there, and they're telling stories about how wonderful their daughters are. Each one is like, my daughter's in college. My daughter was a PhD, Roberts remembered. I passed a note to my friend. What are we going to do? She passes one back to me. I'll tell the truth if you will. These women need a wake-up call. When it was her turn, Roberts told the gathering that her daughter was a pill addict who had stolen from her blind. Lisa had forced her daughter out of the house. My daughter, her colleague said, is in jail accused of executing 3 people for their pills. Half of the co-workers were addicted. They followed with a description of the pill mills, of the OxyContin barter economy, of constant overdose deaths. The room was silent. I remember coming home and being real mad, Roberts said. It's not right that our kids are having their futures and freedom taken from them because they've fallen prey to this horrible chemical that steals their soul. Our kids shouldn't be going to the grave. We sent our kids to the military. After she got clean, my daughter had a better chance of surviving a war than she did of surviving the pill epidemic. Beagley put together a presentation on overdoses. The PowerPoint showed a red stain of overdoses spreading north out of southern Ohio. Portsmouth held 3 town hall meetings with Terry Johnson, people from the medical and pharmacy boards, and the DEA. Then Governor Ted Strickland used an emergency executive order to form a state opiate task force to recommend policy changes. In Athens County, Ohio, meanwhile, Dr. Joe Gay got a hold of the figures that Ed Soci and Christy Beagley had prepared. A garrulous transplanted Texan, Gay directs a rehabilitation clinic serving 4 Appalachian counties in Ohio. He also has a passion for statistics. The Department of Health's graph of overdose deaths looked almost identical to the graph of dispensed prescription painkillers. Gay crunched the numbers to see how exactly they correlated. Then he called a friend and colleague, Orman Hall. Orman Hall directed a drug rehab clinic in Fairfield County, near Columbus. That afternoon, he was hiking with his son, who was headed to medical school and who, like his father, had a strong interest in statistics. Returning from the hike, Hall checked his phone messages. His eyebrows arched. That was Joe Gay, he said, chuckling and shaking his head after he clicked off the phone. He said he's found a .979 correlation between prescription pain pills dispensed and the number of overdose deaths from opiates. Hot damn. That's not even correlation, basically. That's causation, what we're talking about. .979. This was preposterous. Never in 30 years of statistical mechanics had Orman Hall heard of a correlation that close to 1.0, which was almost as if the charts were saying that dispensing prescription painkillers was the same thing as people dying. Gay couldn't believe it either. He ran the DOH numbers again. Each time, .979 appeared on his computer screen. Every statistician knows correlation does not mean causation, but to Gay, the correlations did mean that Ohio could all but predict one overdose death for roughly every 2 months worth of prescription opiates dispensed. All right, we'll do the next chapter, A Pro Wrestler's Legacy, on page 253 in the next episode, guys. Keep fighting that good fight. Hope you had happy holidays.